Welcome and thank you to everyone online. You're joining us today from every region of British Columbia, and it's great to see so much interest in BC's construction industry. I'm Chris Atchison, president of the BC Construction Association, and I'm speaking to you today from the traditional territories of the Lekwungen peoples. And we at BCCA acknowledge and thank the Lekwungen people, also known as the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations communities, past, present, and future, for their stewardship, care, and leadership on these lands. In October of 2022, almost 1 year ago today, we launched the Builder's Life campaign to promote careers in the trades. This was done in line with BCCA's objective of developing the BC construction industry's skilled workforce. I hear from employers every day who are looking for the skilled tradespeople they need to meet the demand in BC, and there is a great opportunity to pursue fulfilling and lucrative careers in our industry. You're all here today because you've shown an interest not only in the trades, but specifically in the area of crane operation. And we brought together experts in this field to shed some light on this career path to help you get started on this exciting journey. So first up, I'm happy to have Guion Griewall join us today. Guion is the training coordinator at the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 115, and he knows it inside and out, having graduated from its training association's crane apprenticeship program. Next, we have Ralph Notice. Ralph is a Red Seal certified mobile crane operator, was operations and regional manager, and is now the Crane Academy manager at Bigfoot Crane Company, Incorporated. Ralph, thanks for coming today and sharing your vast experience with us. And it was important for us to have a representative from WorkSafeBC join us today. So I'm very happy to welcome Doug Younger, who is the prevention manager and lead of WorkSafeBC's Crane and Mobile Equipment Initiative team. He'll share with you a lot of insight about worksite safety, inspection, and maintenance. Thanks, Doug. And last, but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce you to today's fourth panel member from the BC Crane Safety Association, our partner for today's event, Clinton Connell, its executive director. Clinton, thank you for agreeing to co-host. And at this time, it's a great pleasure to turn things over to our MC and moderator, August Lamb. Over to you, August.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, as Chris said, I'm August, and we have Leslie on the line here from BCCA, also on the call, and we'll be helping to produce and moderate this webinar today. Firstly, I'd like to thank the BCCA team and our panelists for making this webinar possible. But before we get started with our guest speakers, I'd like to encourage you all to submit questions during the presentation. Leslie, could we advance the slide? Your participation is really important to us. And to help you get the most out of this session, we'd love for you to participate. So you can submit questions during the call using the Zoom Q&A button below. I see a couple questions there already. You can also upvote questions others have submitted if they interest you. So that'll let us know how to prioritize some of these questions. We'll be handling the questions at the end of our panelist discussions, and we'll have a Q&A session then. And of course, stay tuned for our gift giveaway at the end of the session. So without further ado, our first speaker today is Clinton Connell, Executive Director of the BC Crane Safety Association.
Thanks, August. Welcome here today, everybody. And thanks to our co-hosts and our partners for having us. We join you today from the unceded territory of the Kwantlen, Katzie, and Semiahmoo people, members of the Coast Salish tribe, and look forward to the opportunity to answer your questions. So to start, I'll tell you a little bit about the BC Crane Safety Association, who we are and what we do. First and foremost, we manage the certification scheme, the Crane Operator Certification Scheme for the province of BC and the territory of Yukon. We are also a health and safety association and work closely with our partner WorkSafeBC and industry to produce all manner of health and safety resources specific to the crane industry. And over and above that, we participate in standards development work with standards development organizations, as well as regulation and policy setting under the OHSR and within the province of BC. I'll add a little bit about myself. I've been with the association for the last 3 years, and for the last 2 decades, I've been in the crane industry. Started out as a crane operator, And over the decades, I've held any number of positions and finished my tenure there as branch manager for the province of BC for a large multinational crane company. And I look forward to answering your questions. Thanks, August.
Thank you, Clinton. Next, we have Ralph Notice, Crane Academy Manager for Bigfoot Crane Company, Inc.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I work for Bigfoot Crane Company. We are based out of Abbotsford, BC, and service Western Canada. Our core business is tower crane and self-right tower crane sales and rentals. We also have construction elevators, underhook attachments, many different components to how our business functions day to day. We've grown from 9 employees in 2014 to about 45 today, and we continue to grow strong. And we also have the training academy, of course. I'm very proud to be working in this part of the industry. I was the kid in high school that was always bored in high school and not paying attention. And I was always polite and showed up every day, but it just wasn't my thing. I never really put any effort into it. I graduated. My life really took off when I started my apprenticeship with the operating engineers after about a 5-year stint of logging road construction. And the crane industry has been fantastic. You know, it's paid for all my motorcycles and a house, and it allowed my wife to stay home and raise our 3 children, which is quite a luxury these days. From being an operator to being in management and all the rest of it, I feel like I'm in the best part of this entire industry right now. It's very rewarding helping people achieve their goals and watching them go off into the industry as a certified crane operator. Touching base with people over the years and seeing how they've grown, and they too now have a house and children and motorcycles. So it can pay back very, very quickly. At Bigfoot, we do have some courses. They're designed for people straight off the street with zero experience. That's always people driving around looking at cranes, wondering if it's even possible and how the people get in the seat. Well, those people come and see us, and we can help, right? There are a lot of other options out there. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't take a whole lot of money considering what other trades need and require financially and time-wise. We have actually one of our 2 of our top instructors were former students. So you just never know where this industry is going to take you. Some people want to operate cranes for the rest of their lives. I did it for about 10 years, and then I decided, no, I just want to move into management. And along with that comes a whole other life of luxury with a vehicle and a fuel card and a cell phone, all these expenses that regular people have. It's possible to just bypass all that and just put your check in the bank, right? It's quite nice. And one of the things that the larger crane types, those are apprenticeships. The tricky part for people off the street is, how do I get into the apprenticeship? Like I said, I was fortunate enough to take part in the training through the operating engineers and achieved my red seal. But that's a lot of volume if hundreds of people want to do that. So we offer courses for people off the street that can get them employed with the crane company, and off they go into apprenticeships. And, you know, people might think, well, even though if I get a job, not everybody wants that, right? So if you want to shoot for the top, I worked my way through the entire process very quickly. And that's what I'm here to do for others now, right? Being in all aspects of the industry, I feel like I'm pretty qualified to answer questions for you guys today. And even down the road, anything comes up, we're happy to tour people through our facility. We're happy to talk on the phone. And, you know, a big part of our job here is career counseling and just setting you on the path to success. I look forward to hearing from everybody today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Next, we have Gian Graywall, and he's the training coordinator for the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 115 Training Association. Go ahead, Gian.
Hi, so like August said, I am a training coordinator with the operating engineers. I am also a Red Seal crane operator, and I did my training and my apprenticeship through the operating engineers like Ralph. I'm very grateful to the union for having given me this opportunity, and I'm happy to be in a position that I can help give back to apprentices in the future and help guide them through their path. So I was going to give a bit of an overview of the Operating Engineers Training Association. So we were established back in 1965. We are a not-for-profit training institute, and we are accredited with the Private Training Institutes branch of BC. We're also a Skilled Trades BC designated trainer. The Training Association is a joint initiative between members and our our union contractors. It's funded through employer contributions, and we are dedicated to improving the skill, mobility, and employability of our members. Our training site is located in Maple Ridge. It's a 40-acre facility, and we have various classrooms. They're equipped with state-of-the-art simulators. We've got a full-service mechanic shop. We've got $12 million worth of heavy equipment. And our primary focus right now is on mobile cranes. So we have 6 mobile cranes, ranging from our 26-ton boom truck. We've got rough terrains, 30-ton and 100-ton rough terrain crane. We've also recently acquired, well, not that recently, but an 85-ton Manitowoc crawler crane. And in addition to that, we have a couple older friction crawler cranes and a friction truck mount. And we are continuously upgrading our fleet through the Union Training and Innovation Program. So through that initiative, we've actually acquired funding for our self-erect and tower crane, flat top tower crane that we're going to be acquiring soon. So we actually will be providing training for tower crane as well in the future. And we've already opened up a wait list for that for anyone who's interested in applying for that. And we'll be the only training provider for Red Seal Tower Crane in British Columbia. We already have a successful curriculum through our local in Ontario. So we'll be emulating that. We've got our curriculum from them, and we're already looking into our training for that. And in addition to that, actually, we'll also be training for tower crane erection and climbing, which is actually something I've also done previously in my career as a crane erector. And there's actually no training for that. And it's unfortunate because that's part of the reason that led to the crane collapse in Kelowna. That was a big reason that the province of British Columbia and the operating engineers wanted to get some training going for that. And so then for our mobile crane program, we do require a class 1 or 3. This is based on feedback from our union contractors. So that's the first step is a prerequisite. We'd also have a application process, so that can be found on our website. And it consists of 2 levels of schooling. So level 1 is 7 weeks. It's primarily theory and some hands-on training at our site. You start with learning the theory, the rigging, reading load charts, and also safety and regulations. We get everyone on our simulators. We have 2 crane simulators, and obviously we get everyone outside running actual cranes. And then you have level 2 and 3, which are combined. So that is a greater focus on practical operating skills, more hands-on, and you learn skills that a journey person is expected to know. So we have vibratory hammer, you do pile driving, you do clamshelling, you'll be doing 2 crane lifts, installing jibs, building crawler cranes. Basically, we want to make sure that you have all the skills that you'll be required out in the field and that you're expected to have as a journey person. And at the end of your level 2-3 training, you would be writing your red seal. And the mobile crane apprenticeship. So once you've completed your level 1, we would place you with one of our contractors. You have opportunities to work in a variety of industries. There's the taxi crane industry, which are cranes that would drive on the road like an all-terrain or truck mounted crane, and you'd be driving to various sites on a often daily basis. There's also the marine industry, pile driving, and then there's various projects throughout this province that we're involved in. And you get opportunities to work all across the province. Myself, during my apprenticeship, I've honestly worked every corner of the province. I worked everywhere. Yeah, so the general roles of an apprentice, it varies in different industries. So generally you would start rigging, building cranes, what we call front ending, which is just various jobs that you'd be doing with a large mobile crane. There's greasing, general maintenance. A lot of times they'll be driving counterweight. And in the marine industry, there's various duties on barge mounted cranes. And obviously you get a chance to operate cranes under direct or indirect supervision. And we try to get our apprentices to work in a variety of different industries. I was lucky that during my apprenticeship, I got to do a little bit of everything. I did pile driving, mobile crane or taxi crane. And I worked on some large projects in northern BC as well. So that's the kind of experience we like to get our apprentices to have so that they'll be able to work anywhere in the province. And myself and my role as a training coordinator, I work with employers and apprentices. I try to place apprentices in where I think would be the best place for them, for their skill level and for their learning. And I continuously monitor, evaluate apprentices, follow up with them, see how they're doing, and provide guidance for them on their careers and any tasks that they might be doing. And in addition to that, I'd be liaising and assisting them with dealing with Skill Trades BC, BC Crane Safe, and Fulford certification. There's a lot of documentation processes that are difficult to navigate for an apprentice. And I know even myself during my apprenticeship, I found some of it to be very confusing, and it was really helpful to have a training coordinator to help walk me through some of those things. And of course, the biggest role as a training coordinator is you'll be coordinating with job placement and ensuring that people can be placed in positions to complete their apprenticeship. So that's, in a nutshell, what we do as the operating engineers.
Thank you so much, Gian. Just for the participants, please do continue to submit questions into the Q&A function in Zoom, and we'll move on. And our last panelist today is Doug Younger, Prevention Manager at WorkSafeBC.
Thanks, August. You should have said last but not least, I think, when you introduced that. Hey, thank you everyone for allowing me to be here. I'm coming to you from my pickup truck in Campbell River, sitting in a nice boat launch. Made my way down from Port Hardy this morning and got caught up in a bit of road construction, so didn't make one of WorkSafe's offices. Instead, I'm in my truck. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience as a mobile crane operator and my personal experience coming through. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our provincial inspection initiative related to cranes and mobile equipment. And lastly, I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect if a crane team or a prevention field services officer comes out to your site and wants to have a chat with you. So I'm going to take you back in the Wayback Machine here. About 30 plus years ago, 18 years old, new and young worker, getting into industry, looking for a job. I got hired by a marine contractor as a deckhand on suction dredges, nothing to do with mobile cranes at that time. But they did have a mobile crane fleet for their pile driving and marine construction side, not the side that I was on. And every once in a while, that mobile crane would pull in on a derrick scow, so a crane mounted on a barge, and I would oogle in awe over it. I was mechanically inclined, or am mechanically inclined, and I was just amazed at the ability of that mobile crane and putting it together and extending boom, and just how effortlessly it picked, moved large pieces of equipment that we had to move on our sites. And, right away I was lured to it. I thought it was just cool. Secondly, I also like the respect that those mobile crane operators got. They were the upper echelon within the firm, within the company. They were looked upon as leaders. They didn't miss many shifts, not like me as a young guy that was off and on quite a bit. Those guys always worked. They were quality and accountable and counted on. So again, they had steady jobs, and that's what I was looking for. I pestered both my dispatcher at the employer that I worked for and the union operating engineers training plan, like Jan's position. I pestered them for 2 years straight until they finally let me into the operating engineers training plan the mobile crane apprenticeship. I took that apprenticeship. I completed it back then, 30 years ago. It was a 3 separate years. You had to go back year 1, year 2, year 3. I completed that and obtained my industry training authority, now Skilled Trades BC, Red Seal, like the other people on this call, in mobile cranes, lattice boom friction. And I spent the next 6 or 8 years with that firm running, starting on their 20-ton mobile cranes, and moved up. By the time I left, I was operating their largest crane, 300-ton barred mounted marine derrick, and that was my mainstay. So worked my way through to the top, and very thankful for the opportunity to get that. It was a well-paying job. It was an excellent opportunity, as Ralph said. It offered me a lot of stability, buying a home, treating my family well. Like I said, I did that for about 8 years as a certified operator until I kind of got tired of being out of town a lot. When you get offered a rig in that position on a marine derrick, you could be in Port Hardy or you could be in anywhere in the province that rig could float into. And I was out of town a lot at the time, had a young family, and decided, it was time to go to stick around home a little bit more. I used that mobile crane training to stay with that firm and went into the equipment division, equipment coordinator, and then equipment manager for about 3 years. And then after that, I'll step back a little bit. I want to focus on that crane operator training. Again, when you're a mobile crane operator, you're the lead of the crew. You're like the superintendent, the owner of the property, the superintendent, the foreman on the site, and the crane operator. You're always involved in that upper echelon, for the simple fact that you're running probably the biggest piece of equipment or the biggest risks on that site, and they want you to be involved. They want you to be involved in the planning, the placement of that crane, the assembly of that crane, the location, the crew that's working with you, the rigging, the operation, the inspection of that machine. So, you're looked upon as a leader, and I relished in that. I appreciated the opportunity to be in the upper echelon and be part of that. And I think it really thrust me forward into looking at other opportunities where I could use my crane experience and pivot and expand upon what I had already gotten out of that. Like I said, I moved into the equipment division and then looked at where really was my next step. I took a couple years off, and I went back to school, did a provincial instructor's diploma program at Vancouver Community College. And then I also did a 2-year diploma in occupational health and safety at BCIT. I wanted to get into the safety realm and the teaching realm. I was actually looking at a job with operating engineers in the training plant, thinking that maybe that would be something I would have chased back then, and hence the teaching instructor program and the health and safety. But that opened a door for WorkSafeBC. When I completed that training, I looked at my experience with the crane and I thought, you know what? I don't think they have a crane guy in WorkSafeBC. And I put my name in, and lo and behold, here I am. I've been with WorkSafeBC for 16 years. 15 of those were on a crane inspection team. Worked my way from prevention field services officer to supervisor to prevention field services manager now. And I oversee the crane inspection team, crane and mobile equipment inspection team. So again, I want to focus on the mobile crane operator certification and that opportunity. That has been the basis of my career. That is everything I've done in my career has been based on that mobile crane training, the certification that I got out of it, the leadership roles that were offered to me, and my ability to think, plan, lead have all given me the basis of everything else I've done. Going back to school, coming to WorkSafeBC, into my prevention field service officer duties, my supervisor duties, they've all been related to that. And by far the most rewarding certification that I've got to date. So that's a little bit about me. As the lead of WorkSafe's mobile crane and crane and mobile equipment initiative, it's one of my 2 duties. I oversee a team of 20 prevention field services officers focused on construction activities in the Fraser Valley. And in addition to that, I oversee 5 officers around the province on the Crane and Mobile Equipment Inspection Initiative. Those officers and myself, we collaborate with industry on a 3-year cycle. We identify what we want to look at with that industry initiative, the Crane and Mobile Equipment Initiative. We identify and understand the equipment risks together. We develop resources, tools, materials, as Clinton alluded to. We work as a team with our associations, with the employers and industry, the unions, etc. Sorry. Someone's giving me a call on Teams. We work as a team, industry, associations, to support the workers and employers, provide tools, materials, resources to help eliminate specific crane hazards, crane mobile equipment hazards. Some of the things that we really focus on are operator qualification, operator competency. We look at machine placement, assembly, disassembly, repositioning, climbing. We look at preventative maintenance programs. We really want to take a deep dive into what preventative maintenance programs look like for employers, what their maintenance, inspection, repair cycles are, what the qualifications of the persons that are doing those inspections are, those types of things. Lastly, to round it out, safe lift planning. So who's involved in the lift, who's taking control of that lift, safe work practices, the rigging, etc. So quite an array. All sort of the top 4 risks are, industry risks. We're addressing those with industry, and again, coming up with strategies to eliminate those specific hazards. Lastly, I'm going to talk to you about what to expect if an officer, prevention officer, shows up at your site, is going to do an inspection, whether it be because of an incident or just a general inspection. They drove by and came back to say hi. If we're talking about cranes, it's all the things that we just talked about. They're going to be talking to you as an operator. They're going to be asking for your certification. They're going to be asking if you're an apprentice or a level B provisional operator. They're going to be asking about your supervision, your employer's plan to get you qualified. So where are you at? What have you done? How much training do you have? Trying to assist you to get from green as grass, starting out in your apprenticeship, to full scope operator and completing that provisional ticket to get your certification as a full scope operator. So through that, the officer is probably going to ask you to test your machine limits. They're going to ask you how the crane's working. Are you doing a daily inspection? The setup of the machine. Are you on the correct cribbing? Is the ground stable for you to be placing that crane, that mobile crane? Or if it's a tower crane, that officer is going to climb that tower crane and we'll have a chat with the operator that's sitting in the seat and go through the limits test that way. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that the officer's there to assist you, the worker. The officer's there to make the worker and the whole job site safer. And those questions aren't meant to be pointing any fingers at anyone. Not you, not the employer, not the others at the work site. It's simply to figure out if there's something that needs to be done to make that site safer, whether it be the equipment, the training of the operator, the placement, etc. And what I'm asking is that you give that officer the respect that they're giving you, and answer those questions, because again, they're there to assist to make your day, your work site safer. And I find that's the easiest thing, is that just open answers, honest, straight up, and most of the time it's very, very enjoyable for both parties. And again, if orders are issued or things are found to be not quite perfect, the officer's writing those orders or they're making those suggestions to make the worker and the workplace safer for everybody that's there. It's not to make problems. It's to make the site safer, or set programs in motion for the employer to take what that's been identified as potentially unsafe and take that throughout the firm to make it safer for everybody in the province. I think with that, I'll wrap it up. Thanks again for being here. Much appreciated. I can't say enough about the mobile crane operator industry. It's been very well to me. It's provided me, my family, and again, the pivot, the opportunities for me to flourish in my work environment, my career, many different career paths. It's always been the basis of my employment. All right. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much, Doug. And absolutely, you are correct. Last but not least.
Thanks, August.
You know what? We're going to move into our Q&A section, and I'm going to try and summarize some of the questions that have been asked in the chat. And you know what? Just because you just finished talking about safety and inspections, one of the questions was, how safe it is it being an operator? Is it something that you have to worry about? And you talked a lot about how to make sure that it's safe. Do you want to start with addressing that question, and maybe the other panelists can chime in?
Yeah, I'll take that, August, if you like. Yeah, I feel cranes are absolutely safe if the people that are operating the cranes are qualified. They understand the machine and the operator's manual and the systems involved with it, the assembly, disassembly, etc., the placement. The machines are designed to standards that confirm that they're safe. That the manufacturers design and build these things to standards with safety factors built in, and if they're set up, operated, they're absolutely safe. They'll do everything that they're supposed to do. Where we find they're unsafe is when corners are cut or qualifications aren't met, and people do things that they don't understand, and they're maybe out of their element doing that. So yes, I think cranes are safe, and I think that bodes back to the people that use cranes, the qualifications, the safe use, operation, inspection, maintenance, setup, and those sorts of things that could make them unsafe. Does that answer it for you, August?
Absolutely. Thanks, Doug. I was going to actually kind of move on and talk about some of those qualifications and minimum requirements for a crane operator. But does anyone else on the panel want to add to anything that Doug had said about safety? Just give you a moment.
Sure, I'll weigh in, August. I get asked this question a lot, and I always liken cranes onto the airline industry. Cranes are exceedingly safe pieces of equipment. They're engineered to an incredibly high standard. It's a highly regulated industry, and as well as the inspectional requirements are quite high. Not only do they have prescribed inspection periods, but they have pre-use, pre-shift inspectional requirements as well. These pieces of equipment are monitored continuously throughout the day, before and after every shift. And again, they're engineered to an incredibly high standard.
Thank you so much, Clinton. So one of the next questions I'm summarizing here for us, what are some of those minimum requirements to become a crane operator? What's the benefits of being in an apprenticeship? And, do I have to register for a training program to get certified? Maybe I'll open it up to Ralph, and then Gian, you can respond as well.
Yeah, so there are different levels of certification. For example, our self-erect tower crane course is 8 days. The requirements with us for a self-erect tower crane, you don't even need a driver's license. So you can literally be somebody that has no class 5, take the bus to our training center every day and walk away 8 days later fully certified to operate any size self-erect tower crane. Those are the competency-based crane types. So basically, anything that's mounted on a truck like a Kenworth, or anything you'd see hauling a dump box like a gravel truck with a crane on it, those are the crane types mostly that you can go to a training provider or through an employer and very quickly get certified on that crane type. And then beyond that, it's an apprenticeship, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for us, we do have a requirement to have a class 1 or 3, and the reason for that is just because we, as a union, we're training people, but we're also sending them out to work, and those are requirements that have been communicated to us through our contractors, that they want people to have class 1 or 3. With a mobile crane in particular, you have to be able to drive the crane, especially as an apprentice. A big part of your job is going to be driving truck and trailer or driving cranes to job sites. So we want people who are going to be successful in our trade. And that's just a skill that it's going to allow you to be successful and have a good career in the trade. And I mean, this is something as an apprenticeship that you're expecting someone to be doing for the rest of their career. So it might be a big investment to get a class 1 or 3, and I don't understand that, but it's well worth it in the long run, as this is going to be a career.
Thank you so much, Kian. Do we know if there's any funding support for apprenticeships, or are there sponsorships out there with companies?
Well, for us in the union, members would get a member rate. So, I mean, that's a big thing. If someone has a class 1 or 3 and they apply for a program, a lot of employers would be willing to take them on as a pre-apprentice, which would allow them to become a member of our union before taking a course and qualify for a member rate.
Thank you, Kian. And Clinton, you wanted to add something?
There's also currently a government grant that will provide up to and including $15,000 to cover the cost of commercial driver license training. And under the new program, MELT, mandatory entry level training in BC. And that is for people that haven't found employment yet. So that's available to employers as an incentive to hire young people training in the industry. So probably important to note that those grants are currently available right now. And then I just want to add further to Guillaume's piece that there are minimum age requirements under new OHSR legislation and regulations surrounding new and young workers. There is a requirement to be 18 years old for tower crane programs, for instance. And in the province of BC, the minimum age for a CDL of any type, commercial driver's license, is 19. So for mobile crane, you need to be 19. But again, you know, further to some of the points brought up by the co-panelists, when you're starting out in the crane industry, often you're playing a support role. So for instance, doing front end work or rigging for the crane operator. In that case, you may be required to haul counterweight for the crane, or jib sections or pads, any type of equipment that will in turn also be loaded onto commercial equipment. So that license requirement is quite important. But for people entertaining, make note that those grants are available to employers for new hires. And more information can be found about that grant through the BC Trucking Association website.
Thank you so much, Clinton. I'm going to back up a little bit here. And one of the questions was really kind of related to, you know, if I was absolutely brand new at looking at this, you know, what's my first steps at getting certified, you know, for different operator types, like a marine crane operator, for instance?
So good question. Probably step one would be to go to the BC Crane Safety website and look at the 11 different classification of cranes. Not all crane types are covered. So those are two examples of cranes that don't require certification under the OHSR, being overhead cranes like bridge cranes and gantry cranes, for instance, in manufacturing or warehousing, as well as marine cranes. Most marine work is federally regulated. And so there's training provided at the employer level for those types of cranes. That said, there is training available for both these crane types. So companies, or perhaps Ralph can expand on this, but I know there's other training providers in the province that do have programs, for instance, rigging training, just to get the rigging fundamentals, but there's also pedestal mounted crane training programs and overhead crane certifications that you can get. And it's definitely a leg up, and will provide you some of the training and experience necessary for other crane types as well.
Yeah, I can add to that as well. So the difference between certification and qualification, like a lot of people think, oh, good, I don't need to be certified on that crane type. But the steps to being qualified to run a crane, nobody should be running a crane until they are qualified, meaning they've been trained, they've been assessed on what they learned, and there's documentation proving that this took place. So just because the guy that ran the crane before you taught you how to run it, and yeah, Dave taught me everything he knows, that doesn't mean that Dave was doing the job properly. You know, for 20 years, Dave's been running the crane, he's been getting away with it. Doesn't mean he's been doing it properly. So there should be a formal training process in place for any crane type that doesn't require certification. And basically what we would do is send one of our instructors. with a participant guide and assessment documentation where we teach you everything, theory and practical. Then there are written and practical evaluations. You get through those and you get a certificate of training, basically is what we would issue, right? Proving that you've met the standards that we've set, and that your employer's due diligence would be filed right there for that crane type.
Thank you for that, Ralph. Jan, did you need to add anything to that?
Well, just in terms of marine cranes specifically, I mean, generally that would just fall under the category of mobile crane. So any red seal crane operator can operate in the marine industry. I mean, I have in the past, and I think a few of our other panelists have as well. So that the confusion that's not a specific crane type in and of itself. It's just falls under the category of mobile crane.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gian. So, this kind of blends into, what if I have some experience elsewhere in the industry, elsewhere out of the province? What can I do to, start working in BC? And I'll open that up to whoever wants to start, and we can go round robin.
I can start. So in BC, we do have a credential recognition process. So depending if you hold a credential from another jurisdiction, depending on what standards were met and what level of training was provided, if we can verify that information, we do issue credential recognitions within the province of BC. And, probably a good spot to note that every jurisdiction, even within North America, they divide their crane classifications up differently. You look at the American example, for instance, they don't recognize tonnage delineations, but they recognize different equipment types. And then across Canada, most provinces recognize different equipment types as well as have different tonnage delineations. If we can verify the training and experience of an extra jurisdictional credential, we will issue a recognition that acknowledges the exact machine type and tonnage restrictions on your existing credential. Involved in that is we do need to be able to verify the hours. So we need to be able to get a hold of either the training institution or former employees to sign off on the hours of experience that you claim to have. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much, Clinton. Is there anything further to add to that, Kiana, Ralph, or Doug? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next question. No. What's it like actually being in the crane? Is there a lot of travel in the work? And what cranes are in high demand? What should I get certified on?
Well, I can probably think I probably ran crane the most recently out of anyone here professionally. So well, for what's in demand right now, what's always been in demand and is currently the most in demand is taxi crane operators. Having the ability to drive truck and operate crane is definitely the most in demand skill right now, and it always has been. Other than marine operators, it's probably one of the biggest niches in the province. So that's definitely the most in demand right now. And in terms of what it's like, I mean, there is travel involved. If you're a taxi crane operator, a lot of times you can work locally and sleep in your own bed every night. There is travel, especially if you're specializing in projects and you're like working project. There's a lot of work out in different parts of the province. In the marine industry, you'd be working out of town quite a bit, although there is a lot of work in the lower mainland as well. But if you're looking to stay local, taxi is definitely the way to go for that.
I can add a little bit to that as well. Further to the point that several of the other co-panelists made already, there's such a wide variety of crane types and the types of work. Cranes are literally involved. When you look at WorkSafeBC and the dozens of classifications units they assign to all different industries, it's amazing how many cranes are part of. At last count, something like somewhere north of 75 classification units have cranes working within them. So there really is a wide range. There are crane operators who do nothing but project work. So they work seasonally. They're often out of town for long periods at a time and working on mine sites, remote camps. Running very large equipment can be incredibly lucrative. There's lots of LOA and per diems and overtime, as well as working away from home premiums associated with that type of work. On the other end of the spectrum, there's taxi work. So you could work for, a local lumber company that has a couple small boom trucks, and you make deliveries all day long. And it's very, very different, right? Large cranes, you're going to be doing a lot of specialty lifts and a lot of specialty operations, heavily planned and engineered lifts, versus if you're delivering lumber packages, you're generally offloading from the side of your truck onto a driveway. There's tower crane work, right? Tower crane work is typically only in metropolitan regions, although with the advent of city cranes and self-erect cranes, you're starting to see them in a lot more communities now. And again, tower crane work, tower crane operators usually the first guy on site and the last guy to leave. They work long days, but again, you're close to the city, but you're home every night and then typically off on the weekends. And I think Doug alluded to the journey changes along the way. There's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of sort of lefts and rights you can take. I started my crane operating career in a tower crane, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I didn't entertain changing. 3 weeks into my experience, the opportunity to join the operating engineers mobile crane apprenticeship showed up, and I jumped at it. And then I thought mobile cranes, and I had my sights set on running a great big all-terrain. By the time I finished my first year apprenticeship and went out to find employment, I got on with a company that had a sizable fleet, and of course I wanted to run the biggest piece of equipment there, and they just kind of chuckled and smiled at me and then pointed to the smallest piece of equipment, which obviously as a green operator was the right call for them to make, but it was a little bit humbling. During my time with the apprenticeship, I got sort of John, pardon me for the not having the right term, but I had a field day out on a spud barge with a marine crane operation. We were doing clamshelling in the river, and I was hooked. I wanted to be a deckhand. And obviously that was my last day on in the marine field. I never did become a deckhand, but I ended up right. So there really, really is a wide variety. And again, as both Ralph and Doug alluded to, there's all sorts of opportunity that comes along the way over the years. A few years into my career, I had the opportunity to join the dispatch crew. I ended up in supervisory roles. You can head into the safety world, you can head into the technical sales world, or end up in management. It creates a lot of opportunity, and myself included, and a lot of my former colleagues and some people on this call, the professional development opportunities are huge. I personally, in my decades in the crane industry, have attended over half a dozen post-secondary institutions for different types of courses, training, certificates, and even a degree. And all of that was funded by the employer. So there really is a wide menu of options and opportunities available within the crane industry.
Thank you so much, Clinton, for that. A couple more questions, and then we'll kind of close this off. But, in terms of getting into a certification or getting certified for a particular crane type, are there any particular crane certifications that are more expensive or less expensive? And which should, people want some guidance here in terms of what should they head for in terms of how long it takes to get certified. How long does it take to become a fully certified crane operator?
I'll speak quickly to the cost, and then I'll let the training providers speak in greater detail. In terms of, and I think Ralph made this comment earlier, when you compare to other trades, the costs are far from prohibitively expensive. The most expensive piece is the practical assessment, and I'll just touch on that real quick. In BC, crane operating certification is a competency-based program. So there's a theory and a training element to it as well, but you don't just need to know what you were trained on, you need to be able to demonstrate it. And so the practical component for the largest crane type is just under $1,000, and the registration fees are for small crane types, right around, everything's under $200 to start the process. And then again, the most expensive piece is that practical assessment, which is at the end when you're ready to either challenge or when you've finished your apprenticeship and are ready to write the journeyman person exams. So I'll hand it over to any additions or corrections from Ralph and Gian. Thanks.
Yeah, our courses, we do have the basic rates based on the average person. Our goal is to have people successful on the assessment because, like Clinton said, it is basically $1,000 for the certification assessment, and you want people to be successful on that. It's not something you can stop because you lose all your money basically if you don't cancel within 48 hours. So you got to be sure that your durations are correct. But I always say if you're sitting there playing video games and you're a quick learner, we can do custom durations. Like, we don't hold everybody the same standard. If your English is a second language and you're not, your eye-hand coordination isn't so great, the full duration of a course would be what's required. But we've had some people come in for 6 or 8 days, especially people that have already completed other trades training. And some people are very quick learners and have great eye-hand coordination, and it can be a very quick process to get trained up and be certified on folding boom cranes, like the knuckle booms, on boom trucks, and on self-erect tower crane. Those are the competency-based crane types. And I can verify that we are sending people straight to work from here. People are not having any trouble on any of those crane types. Those are the ones that are not an apprenticeship. You're basically just challenging it and off you go. So great opportunities out there.
Go ahead, Gian.
So for our apprenticeship, in terms of length, it can vary. I would generally assume it's going to take 4 years, but some people do complete it quicker. For the cost, our level 1 is $14,000 for non-members, and for level 2 and 3, generally, if someone's taken training through us and we can dispatch them to a job, they would become members and qualify for member rate. So if you were to become a member, your level 2, 3 would be $2,000. And the cost for level 1 training for members is also $2,000. And like I said, $14,000 for non-members, and that's for a Red Seal mobile crane operator training.
Thank you. And just to clarify something, as we get certified, as a crane operator, are they working during this time? How does that look like? Because I think that some people are concerned about how much am I making and is this recoverable? Is it recoupable? Could you speak to that either? And I can go between Gian and then back to Ralph.
Well, yeah, for us, our apprentices would be working when they're not in school. Or school is 6 weeks, and generally you'll be working. Right now, especially, there's a lot of work in the industry, so there's no need to be not working when you're in between training. So yeah, you'd be working. And then part of our collective agreement is an apprentice would make 65% as a level 1 apprentice, 65% of a journey person. And journey person rate, it does vary, but it's generally around 45 to 55 an hour. So you'd be making 65% of that as a first year apprentice.
Yeah, on our end, the courses can be anywhere from 1 day for a rigger certification, 6 days for folding boom 22 tons and under. Some people stay for an entire month and they get folding boom, stiff boom, and self-erect tower crane with the level 1 rigger certification, and they're ready to go to work. It can be anywhere from about $6,000 to $35,000, depending on what you want to spend. It is a lot of money to invest, but the benefit is you can come and get it. We can start you tomorrow, basically. It can happen very quickly. We book everything on demand. So we're kind of like the gap between completing an entire apprenticeship through the union and waiting for that process to happen, and being somebody off the street with no access to the crane industry, right? If you have some money, we can figure out exactly what fits and what your goals are, build a duration that we're confident you're going to get through the process. And once you're done, then we have plenty of people that are calling us regularly. Basically, people that need a crane operator, they can put an ad on Indeed or Craigslist and get all kinds of people calling that probably aren't even certified in the first place. Union companies can go to the union hall and see if there are any operators, but private companies, I even had Pepsi calling the other day looking for a folding boom crane operator. I think that would have been a dream job, really high pay, great benefits. And, it's a 5-6 day course and you could be off taking that beautiful job, right? So get in touch and we'll figure it out for you.
Thank you so much, Ralph, for that. Yes, go ahead, Clinton.
I'll just add, I think part of that question was speaking to the provisional license. So each of the crane type certifications, when you first apply, you get a provisional, which for lack of a better term is basically a learner's license. And that allows you to run the crane under supervision. So during that period, while you're gaining your experience and getting ready to prep yourself for the practical assessment, you would be operating on a provisional license. And then after successful completion of the exams, the written exams and the practical assessment, you would then have your full scope for whatever crane type you were pursuing.
Thank you so much. I think we'll have to end up. We're running out of time here, and I think the questions were coming fast and furious. So thank you so much. We actually want to do a little gift giveaway. So Leslie will be messaging 3 participants in the participant attendees list. Leslie, if you could move the slide, that would be great. Thank you. And it's a kit here. We've got some toques, a hat, even a Bluetooth locator and a thumb drive. And Leslie will be messaging you directly so that we can ship this out to you directly. We definitely want to hear from you. We know there is a lot of interest and a lot of questions. Absolutely, if you contact BC Crane Safety directly, some of your questions in terms of certification details, we definitely have some support there. Go onto the website. There's going to be a questionnaire that pops up once we end this meeting. It will ask you for some feedback. We absolutely want to hear from you, and we want to know what else you want to hear about. But you can also submit your email address so that we can, at BC Crane Safety, send you communications, give you more information directly as well. So I hope this session was helpful to you. It's the beginning of this. We want to create more information for the community to make it a little bit easier for you to get started with crane certification and start your career. So we want to hear from you. Please do not hesitate to contact us directly. And of course, Ralph, Jan, absolutely would love to hear from you as well. Thanks, everyone. And thanks to our panelists and BCCA for hosting this.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.